Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to show you guys how to paint some water lilies close up. It's going to be really in depth, lots of detail. I'm going to guide you step by step along the way for the whole process of this painting. I can't wait to show you guys how to do this. So I've never had a tutorial with in detail up close water lilies before. I've always had them kind of in the distance, impressionistic looking little dots and dabs here that give you the impression that there's water lilies there, but this is going to be up close and in depth and detail. So we're going to create a mood around these water lilies and giving us a feeling that maybe we're in one of those boats that I paint in my landscapes and we're looking over and seeing the water lilies. So I'm going to go over the colors that we're using today and talk about the canvas. I've got a 16 by 20 stretched canvas. I primed it once with acrylic gesso just because I really want the colors to hold up and I want this to look really lifelike and pop off the canvas. So I'm going to go over the colors now. We've got titanium white, light blue violet, blue turquoise, neon red, neon yellow cool, cadmium yellow light hue, bright aqua green turquoise, pale green, magenta, and Mars black. So let's just get right into this painting. Okay, so I'm going to begin this painting now. I'm going to take a little bit of white first and a little bit of my blue violet, just with the corner of my brush there. We're not going to see a whole lot of the sky, but I do want to have this color back here. Now keep in mind it's going to dry a little bit darker, but right away I'm not even going to wash my brush. I'm just going to take a little bit of black. I'm also going to take some of my magenta, and I chose magenta to add to my black because it's in the red family, right? And it's very complementary to green. So I want colors to play off of each other and help add some life to this painting. So I'm going to go right up here, and to add a little bit more dramatic, now this is a really good tip. Don't go straight flat across. Create some bit of height there and a little bit of a slope. A little bit of a slope like that will make for a really interesting painting. Okay, now I'm going to add my cadmium yellow and a little bit of pale green without washing my brush off. I'm going to go right underneath. And I'm going to start going down with that. I'm going to add some turquoise with a pale green. And I'm going to start going over top. See how I'm not washing my brush out. This way I get a rich, deep, dark color in the water without it being all one shade. So I'm going to start to do this a little bit quicker. I'm going to pick up some of my blue teal. And you can also kind of create these little wavy lines like this. This is going to give you some ripples in the water if you want. And I'm going to take a little bit of magenta with my blue and my teal. I just get a little scoop of each color on there. And yellows, greens. So that's where I get really excited when I see all those colors at once like that. I just think that's so pretty, and that's what I love about not over mixing one color on your palette. Okay, without washing my brush, I'm going to go into both of my yellows. And I'm going to tap right into that dark line. And I'm going to go around the side. And I'm just going to create a beautiful hint of the landscape back there that's kind of blurry and out of focus because it's far away, and that's going to help really give us that sense of perspective and closeness of being in the water. I accidentally pulled in a little bit of that neon red. I'm gonna go with that. I like happy little accidents. I make them work. Maybe we've got some weeping willows in the background. Take a little bit of white with my greens. And just pull and flick like that. And then you can give a little pull down like this as well. I love that blurry background look. And then sweep across. So what I want to do is take a little bit of my black magenta and mix that up. You get a gorgeous smoky color here with the turquoise. And I'll just start adding some shadows. Way back here. We've got a whole beautiful garden back here. Okay, so now that I've got a few of my yellows, a little bit of what's left of my neon yellow and my cadmium yellow medium hue, I'm just going to go ahead and start overlapping, and we'll create a little bit more warmth back here and a sense of some soft sunlight. And I'm going to take some of these colors and add them to the water. So we've got some light blue violet with a little bit of white. And we can just start layering over the water. Little lines, gentle. I don't want to have a lot of movement in the water, right? So I'm not going to be making a lot of wavy lines. I just want to keep it pretty flat and calm and still. And then I'm going to go into the red and white. I'm going to add some of that. Pick up a little bit of water on my brush. Take some more blue. Those colors look so pretty together. Let's add some turquoise. That blue, oh, that's pretty. Hope you guys are enjoying seeing all these colors, and that maybe you've got some ideas starting to take shape of what you want to paint next. I'd love it if you tried this one and wanted to paint along. I'm going to take a little bit of my neon red with that blue teal. I'm going to add some of that in here. I'm gonna add some just at the base here too, just to soften this back here so we can start our water lilies. So I'm gonna start working on some tree trunks here, and I've got my little number two Filbert brush. So I'm gonna take yellow, black, and the magenta, and pick up even a little bit of blue violet. So I know instantly that I want that to be a little bit darker. So a little bit of the blue, teal. Notice how I'm not going straight for black, right? It's far away. And we're not gonna have anything straight full on black. Black's too intense. We'll just keep going here, adding a little bit of water to my brush and add a few trees. Add some branches coming out from this one and some drippy hanging moss. Add a little bit more of my magenta because there's a lot of green behind there, and I know that's going to look really pretty. Take a little bit of white, blue, and magenta. A little bit more of the blue this time. I'm just going to move some of this paint around with a bit of water in the same brush. Just make these a little bit lighter. Careful, I've got to catch some of those drips before they go down. Not that that would be terrible, but I wasn't really planning on adding any drips in this painting, like sometimes I like to do. So I think I'm gonna add a little bit down below here. Very loosely, a little bit here and there. And I'm going to come in with a little bit more and just start adding little lines and dabs like this for some water lilies that are far away. I'm going to use a flat brush. This one is number 10, and I'm going to take a little bit of yellow, a little bit of turquoise and white, and dab, dab, dab. Now really far away, it's going to be kind of look like it's a little bit more solid, though it's not. That's how we're going to create it. We're just going to add the little dabs like that, those little lines, and then we're just going to gently sweep over. You want to make them kind of messy and scattered, just like how the lily pads are. Okay, so I'm going to go up. Remember, we want to have a gentle slope. Then you can start making them a little bit bigger, but very light, faint. And even if you take a little bit of water in your brush, you can go over like that. So I kind of want to make the water look like it's kind of glowing, and what I want to do is go over top in a thin, kind of transparent blue. I think I'm going to use this one here. This is a 1.5 inch flat, so I'm going to take a light blue and I'm going to go over the whole thing. So it is dry now and I'm able to do that. What I really need to do, most importantly, is get my brush wet. I'm even going to do a wet down of the canvas. This is going to really help me cover it easily. Okay, so I'm going to take my blue, turquoise, or teal, and a little bit of white. So this is the color I'm after. Anything a little lighter or darker than this is fine too. Okay, so a little bit of water again. Okay, so see what I mean? It's transparent. We can still see those colors underneath. I'm going to start by adding a few darker areas. I'm going to outline, and I'm going to use my flat brush for this. And I'm going to take my magenta and black, a little bit of that blue, a little bit of yellow, and I'm just going to start by making some dark patches in the water, a little wiggle like that. Okay, so we're going to add a little V right there first, and then go around. And instead of making a circle, you're going to make it a little bit squashy like an oval. And you can make it a little bit wiggly. Some of them are have a little bit of a ruffled edge to them. So you can add a little bit of that if you want. So we're just outlining first, and then we'll come over top with our highlight. Then I'm going to have a darkish loop right here. I'm going to add a little stem. Have it curve slightly over. And then we'll have a bud coming out. Make it a little bit darker. A little bit thicker. I'm going to use some yellow. Go right inside like that. And then around the outside. Then with a corner of my brush and a little bit of yellow, I'm just going to dab gently the top like that, giving us that suggestion that it's going to bloom. It's starting to open up. I'm going to take a little bit of red and white and add a little hint of color right there and a little bit right there. Okay, we'll continue along with our lily pads. Have some coming off the canvas here. Overlap. I'm going to switch over to my number 2 Filbert brush. And I'm going to take some white, turquoise, and yellow. Just a little bit more yellow. Get it nice and mixed up. Have a good amount on my brush. And we're going to start from the inside, working our way out. And go up and down and up again. You don't have to do that for everyone. So some of that, we can let some of that show through. You can go a little ripply like this, have a little bit of fun, make the edges kind of fluted like a pie, which I'm terrible at, by the way. I can paint, but I cannot make a pie crust for the life of me. I'll use a little bit more white here. Make some of these areas stand out a little bit more. So just little highlights, little triangles like this. Helps to break it down into shapes if it's hard to see. So kind of a rounded end to the triangle and then pointy in. Rounded and pointy in. Is that making sense to you guys? Are you learning from this tutorial so far? I hope this is breaking it down and making it a little bit simpler for you. It's important for me to know, and that way I can continue teaching the way I'm teaching to you guys. Add a bit of light back here to this one. Okay, get a little water on my brush, loosen up some of that paint. Again, we're using blue teal, cadmium yellow, medium hue, magenta, and black. I'm gonna add a dark shadow right here. Looks like a banana shape. See, just little things like that can really help too. When you just make it a little silly and make a shape out of something, it just becomes less intimidating. Okay, we'll add the top of this one over the other side. I'm going to come in here, make this a little bit thicker. They all look a little bit different. It's interesting. Sometimes they have this Pac-Man mouth, so they look like little Pac-Man to me. And then sometimes they're really, really close together. give that one a little ruffle. Okay, I'll take some white, yellow, and blue without washing my brush off. Let those other colors in my brush, those dark ones, work out. I'll take a little bit more white and go over this really lightly, because I know it's going to dry a little darker. We're going to have some flowers in here somewhere, so I'm not going to worry too much about making this look perfect. I don't ever worry about anything looking too perfect in my paintings, to be honest. Okay, I'm going to water my brush down because I want a little bit of this, these colors, oops, got a drip there. These colors underneath to show through. I'll take my black and my other dark colors that I made earlier with the magenta and the blue. And I'm just gonna make a few little ruffly edges here. Okay, with a clean brush, I'm going to gently flute these edges, but I'm going to make them a little tighter. So just little wiggles. And then where this comes out a little bit, wherever it comes up from your wiggles, we're going to have some height there, and it'll be a little bit brighter. And I'm going to add the next one. Black, teal, magenta, and yellow. I'm going to put these ones close together. And I want to have a shadow in the water reflection here from where it goes up here. So just a little dab right there. And then we're just going to do gonna make a big egg shape, big oval like this. And then I'm gonna go around, ripple, 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 tight ripples though. And they don't have to be even. And then a little ring around that for a shadow in the water. And we can do a few little reflections under the other ones too. And I'm just going to put a line right here, or a little triangle, I guess, with this shadow here. Kind of makes a skinny triangle. Now because this is a larger one, I'm going to use a larger Filbert brush. It'll just make it easier for me. So this one has rubbed off, but it's probably a number 9, 6 to a 9, I would say. I get my brush wet, take some yellow, turquoise or teal, and white. As close as you can get to the outline. And then tight in like this. Take a little bit more yellow and white. Bit of water. Just going to add a few highlights here. So I'm just taking a little bit more yellow this time with some white. There's just a faint pattern that we can see on here, and if this was super in focus and really, really close up, then I would probably add more of a pattern and more detail, but I want to start working on the flowers soon and I don't want it to compete. I remember when I mentioned in my videos, well, I do mention this quite often, don't have too many things in full focus in your paintings. Even if you're looking at a reference photo, and photographs will show things that look like it'll show everything more in focus. You don't necessarily want to paint it like that. You're rendering something that speaks to you and stands out to you about that photo. Choose that and put 100% of detail into that, and let everything else kind of just be a frame for it, if that makes sense. Okay, I'm gonna go back to my number 2 Filbert brush here. Just want to use something really small and really give this a crisp outline. I want it to really feel like it's sitting on the water and floating. So remember, they're wobbly. The edges are a little wobbly like this and kind of fluted and ruffly looking. Okay, so I'm going to add a few more around here. My yellow, blue, and black. Ooh, let's add a little bit of magenta in there too. Gonna thin out my paint and add a little shadow in the water, or a little reflection. And then a darker outline that's thinner. Ripple, ripple. And a little highlight, a little bit more white. Another Filbert brush to get in and around. I think it'll be easier with a round end. This one's a number 12. This is quite a big one. I'm gonna get it a little bit wet. Use the blue, violet, and teal that I used earlier, but I just want to use a little bit more white this time. So see how much darker it was? I'm going to wipe the excess off on a towel, so I want it to be a little bit more transparent. So I'm imagining the clouds above the sky. It's just reflecting down, and we're getting this light on the water. Remember that all those colors we have underneath are still gonna show through. They're just gonna be softer. It all plays a part, all those colors that we add. And I'm gonna take white, because I know the white is gonna, and it's even mixing in a little bit with my yellow and blue, so that's fine, because it's not gonna be straight white yet. We're gonna add our brightest highlights after. So I'm gonna add the basic shape first, and it's a little bit on an angle, but right about here. So I'm gonna do a scoop like this. So again, we've got that sort of banana shape. And we're gonna add a petal here, petal there. And another one there. I'm gonna rinse my paint out of my brush. And these ones are gonna be a little bit thinner in paint. And I'm gonna take a little bit of my green color that I made there with my yellow and my turquoise. And these ones down here are gonna have a bit of yellow in them, a bit of greeny yellow. Okay, right away I'm gonna come in with a little bit of blues, white, and black. I'll make a very thin layer of paint with some water, a little bit more on the gray side. We're going to outline. I'll take a little bit more black and just make a darker color here with turquoise and the magenta. Scoop down. So we're making this petal here a little bit smaller. I'm going to water down my brush a little bit. And we're going to add a reflection. We'll just create a bunch of these little diamond petal shapes. And then there'll be a shadow right in here, so we'll use a little bit more paint because it's not on the water. It's going to be a little bit darker right in there. And then right in between and around these petals, we're going to add more paint and make it show up more, separate it from the water shadow. Then a very gentle tap, so it's a little bit darker right underneath here. and then it gets a little bit lighter. Okay, I'm going to take a little bit of white and pink, or red to make a pink. And we'll add a little bit like that. Be a little bit darker here. So it gets closer in. It's going to be a little bit darker and have some shadow. Okay, now I'm just going to take white and a little bit of my neon yellow. So a little bit of that neon yellow cool with white. We're going to do a scoop like this. And then some of those petals. So the shape, it'll go in like rounded points like that. Take a little bit more of my red or that yellow. And then I'm just going to add another little dab right there. And then white. And a little bit of blue violet. Just tinting the white with that violet will give us a little bit of a shadow that we need on some of these petals. And it's also a really nice complementary color to the peach and coral tones that we have. So we're going to start bringing these petals out. There's a little bit more blue to make this separate from the other ones. Aren't these pretty colors though, you guys? I'm just going to dip down and scoop up. So let that blue be your shadow. It's just such a pretty color to choose. And I'll take some more white and just tint it again. Okay, I'm going to take my black. I'm going to add another shadow in here, outline. So it scoops down under that petal, comes up, and then scoops gently again. I'm just going to add a few little ones that are more impressionistic in the distance. So I'll take my white, a little bit of yellow and pink. Maybe a little bit more white, soften that. And a few little buds like that, like we have here, but they're gonna be smaller because they're farther away. So I'll take a little bit of black in there, make it dark around the edge, and a little bit of pink there. And soften up that lily pad a little bit, and then a little bit of black underneath. Little stem. Dabs for all the other little lilies in the distance, and then just a pull and a sweep like that. And just let out the excess yellow out of my brush. Just a very small amount of paint left in my brush. Just a gentle scumble. Okay, so this painting is all finished. I really enjoyed working on this one, and I'm glad I got to share it with you. Thanks for joining me today. I'll see you guys all soon in my next video. Bye!